Remember the video that I posted speaking about a prophet from TikTok who was live with Gogo Skhotheni, telling Gogo Skhotheni, he had prophesied her and the whole nine yards. He spoke about her having a calling and she's a prophetess and the whole 9 yards. Now, the reason why I didn't want to talk about that particular part is because I felt like that was a completely separate subject, and this is that subject. Now, this is not a response video to what he said. Don't get that twisted. Don't get that idea that I'm responding to what he said. I'm going to couple this up with a video that was made a couple of years back, I think about 3 years back, to Kanyibao. When Kanyibao came out, and I think she appeared on a TV show and people were talking about her, and they were talking about how she's being devilishly used and whatnot. And Dr. Yendlovu around the same time had a prophecy, and the prophecy was speaking about how she didn't know that the people didn't even know that she had a calling, and they would be shocked, they would be surprised. Okay, so even she made a post. She didn't make a video. She made a post saying, "Tell them they don't know." She made a post like that saying, they don't know that she's called and stuff. Now, I want to talk about why this whole purpose talking, or this whole, God has this call over your life when we are talking to unbelievers. This can create a misleading that can step these people into unbelief or into functioning outside of God. And I want to talk about that on this particular video. It's the Reality Show, the Daily Christian Commentary video. If it's the first time over here, check out some of the videos that are down in the pinned comment. I'm going to check you out over there. I said it with my chest. I said it with conviction. And so that's the subject matter. That's why I want to talk about it. I think it can mislead people, and I'll tell you why. There is no point of telling a person who has not responded to the call of salvation about a call that they have under God as service. There's no point. There's no point, because what's going to happen is that that person will, if they are an unbeliever, they will seek to pursue meaning for what they call purpose in the world. They will do that using worldly things, using worldly ideas of purpose from God to justify that. And say, no, it's any form is any form. Any form ministry is any form ministry. And so it can mislead people, and it can step them into this phase or into this bracket where they are serving God in their head, but not on paper. On paper, I mean, according to heavenly records, the person has not acknowledged what gets them into that calling. So I want to show this with a couple of verses here. Okay. If you think about a certain lane of verses, as a matter of fact, when speaking concerning this particular topic, I think the book of Isaiah has a perfect verse for this. The book of Isaiah has a perfect verse. Isaiah chapter number 6, verse number 8. And it says, "And I heard a voice of the Lord saying, who shall I send? Who will go for us? Then I said," this is the Lord's response, "then I said, here I am, send me." You will notice there is a response. So the response speaks to the calling, to what the person is being called to. The Lord here was coming to redeem mankind. That was the call which he was being sent for. But there was already a response. There was a response, and there you see it over there, right? This here it's putting that particular call within frame. Basically, you can kind of like put it like that. Now, the reason why I'm speaking about this is because people tend to look at Jeremiah chapter 29, verse number 11. "For I know the plans that I have for you, the plans to prosper you and whatnot." And so they put that within the back of saying, God knows His plan that He had for us from the time when before we were in our mother's wombs. So they take that and then they run with it without remembering. As long as one does not respond to the initial call, the initial call is what makes their calling. You are not a preacher if you are not a believer. The person becomes a believer, that's what makes them a preacher. It's not just when a person picks up the Bible. It is preaching when we are now hearing it. You are now fulfilling the purpose of a preacher as a believer. If the response to being a believer was not there, there is no calling. We deceive ourselves. And so there's no point. There was no point of Dr. Ian Ndlovu telling Kanyimbao she has any calling. It's been 3 years. She still hasn't responded to it. She's busy butchering face. She stretches. She's pulling. You don't know what she's pulling. We don't know what's the next thing she's going to pull. She still has not responded to the initial call. The initial call is what makes whatever calling you are talking about, and you have a great calling to preach to many people. I watched another video. Just a sec. Leadership. And so I was getting a call, and and so I don't wanna pause this. I don't wanna stop this video before thinking. The initial calling is what makes the second, right? And people using that Romans verse, it actually shows you why it can create a problem, because people then use whatever worldly idea of a calling that they have for them to say that they have responded to God. Think about this. Romans chapter number 8, verse number 28. It says, and we know, right? It says, we know that in all things God works for all those who love Him. So He works everything out for those who love Him. Right there, the particular phrasing of those who love Him, it goes back to this idea of those that prioritize Him. That is the context of which it is speaking there. So it becomes important to recognize why is He using that particular language in that space. There tends to be an issue. Think about the Jacob and Esau situation. Jacob and Esau, here is one who's going to respond to the calling the right way, and there is one who's going to respond to the calling the wrong way. This one is not going to take responsibility the right way. So as a result, what's going to happen is that he is constantly going to oppose it. That's a sign of what happens when you want to tell someone of their calling before they make the initial response. He goes and he sells the birthright for a plate of food. Now, the birthright is part of your duty. It's your duty to the kingdom. How? It is your duty to the kingdom in that your response to the blessing of Abraham is your duty to dispense, or your duty to the world, to giving out or handing out the blessing. He didn't want that. He wanted to benefit himself. And that's what made the second born the first. The rightful heir to that blessing is because he had the right response to it. We don't want to get people confused about these things, because nowadays, it's not just nowadays, it's in human nature to prioritize whatever one wants to prioritize. The first thing that must be prioritized is their response, the initial response to the gospel. When the initial call to the gospel has been made, what's their response? It's not being a prophet that she must respond to. It's being a believer of the message that came to save her. It does nothing to tell her she's called, she's a prophetess, she is what. It goes nowhere. That particular line of talk goes nowhere. Why? The initial thing that makes that possible has not been responded to. Kanyimbao doesn't need a prophecy of greatness in God's mission. She's going to win many souls. She doesn't need that. She needs the initial response to the message that came to save her. Jesus died for you. Until there's a response for that, there's nothing. Otherwise, we create a problem. Y'all tell me your thoughts down in the comment section. It's the Reality Show, daily Christian commentary videos. Other episodes down today, they'll be down in the pinned comments. It's important we see the initial response to the call.